F. Young, and I'm an assistant dean in the Office of International Studies Programs at Michigan State University, responsible for our Global Youth Advancement Initiative. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to this YIELD Symposium. On behalf of ISP and JAN, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the Alliance for African Partnership for their continued investment and support for this initiative. I would also like to thank our partners from ASEC in Ghana and the Sokoine University of Agriculture, Tanzania, for an exemplary 3 years of collaboration. From conceptualization of the program to recruitment of participants, planning for in-country workshops, data gathering for case studies, and other research outputs, this partnership has been based on mutual respect, dedication to a shared mission and vision, and the prioritization of the needs of our key stakeholders, the young entrepreneurs themselves. I really believe our collaboration has been a model of the type of partnership that AAP was established to foster. I also like to thank the JAN team, Kwame Yabo in particular, and Elizabeth Hubeck for all their hard work in preparing for this symposium, as well as several of our other team members, Talita Pam, and others who you will be hearing from later today. As many of you know, the YIELD Project helps young agricultural entrepreneurs to leverage and maximize opportunities in Africa's agri-food system through an integrated approach that combines collaborative research with capacity building. The purpose of this symposium is to share the project's activities, lessons learned with stakeholders, and glean further insights on how to nurture a more conducive and enabling ecosystem for Africa's young entrepreneurs. I have no doubt that this is going to be a very informative and inspiring conversation, and I'm personally looking forward to hearing all of the speakers. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping points I need to make. We ask that you please use the chat function to contribute to the discussions, use the Q&A function to ask questions, and mute your mic when you're not talking. On that note, I would now like to invite the Associate Director for the Alliance for African Partnership, Professor Isaac Minde, to provide his opening remarks. After Isaac's remarks, the next person you'll hear from is Dr. Julius Gatune, who will provide a broad overview of the YIELD Project and its activities to date. Isaac?
Thank you very much, Chinwe. Good morning again, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Isaac Minde. I'm a professor in the Department of Agricultural, Food and Resource Economics, and also Associate Director of the Alliance for African Partnership. I'm a Tanzanian, and I'm based in Tanzania as I speak. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting AAP and for inviting AAP to make a few remarks. And so I'm also thanking AAP management, the directors, for allowing me to attend this meeting to make a few remarks on their behalf. And I will basically use the 3 minutes I'm given basically to show the relationship between AAP and YIELD, which is the subject matter of the discussion today. AAP seeks to bring people and organizations together to work toward common goals. We envision and work toward innovative models of partnerships that will be addressing the challenges facing the world today. So facilitating new relationships between people and organizations that may not have traditionally worked together in the past is part of our business. And I would also want to say right away about what makes us different. That is very important. There are so many organizations like us also doing research, supporting this and that, but for AAP, I will say that we strive to ensure that our collaboration embodies ethical principles of partnerships, such as mutual respect, mutual trust, co-creation, accountability, flexibility, etc. At the same time, we make sure that the activities we support sustainable, equitable, and also innovative. So AAP started off in 2016, and we identified 6 thematic priority areas, namely agri-food systems, water, energy, and environment, youth empowerment, I'll repeat, youth empowerment, education, culture, health, and nutrition. So zeroing in on youth then, AAP contends that young people in Africa face various economic and social challenges, including equitable access to economic and educational opportunities. At the same time, youth are seeking more equal opportunities to engage in civic, economic, social, and political participation. In this regard, early in the season, when you just got started, just the second year of AAP existence, 3 youth-related projects were funded, one of it being YIELD, Young Innovators, Entrepreneurs, and Leadership Development. It should be stated here that the 3 youth projects delivered the best quality outputs, and this is documented out of the total 15, which were funded out of the 63 applications. YIELD especially was very exciting and did a lot in terms of linking Tanzania and Ghana entrepreneurs. And so, as they say it in my language, the name you give to your kid is what the kid is going to do in the future. And so the branding that was given to this project, YIELD, I think it is paying off. So I would say congratulations to the team leaders, Kwame, Tengua, and Julius, for that branding. I would also like to remark that on youth, AAP, in collaboration with various entities and starting with a Global Youth Advancement Network called YIAN, which is basically headed by Dr. Chinwe Fiong and her team at MSU, AAP is committed to supporting, facilitating, and linking up youth with like-minded institutions to increase their knowledge, skills, and other transformative engagements. And we would really want to make sure that we keep on doing that business. In concluding, I would like to encourage you folks to remain engaged, work very hard, and of course, but smartly, and also innovatively to deliver and yield. Remember our branding, and yield the best you can, and let us keep up the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isaac, for those remarks. I think at this point we will move on to Julius, who will provide the overview of the YIELD journey and the lessons learned. Julius, please take it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame, and also thank you for the wonderful remarks from Professor Minde and Chinwe. Yes, I'll make a presentation basically to give an overview of what we have done up to date and what are some of the achievements and impacts we have made. So we will, I think, will be shared the presentation. I think Elizabeth is doing that. Yes, and I'll be quite fast on this, so please bear with me. I think we don't have, so we can clarify as we go on. So maybe we can start, we are going to talk of the journey and lessons learned on this. So let's go to the next. And in terms of aim, just let's go back one. Aim was really to assist young, as I said, to young entrepreneurs to access and maximize opportunity in Africa agri-system through an integrated approach that combines actionable research, capacity development. I think Professor Minde has said that. And in this, we wanted to address knowledge gaps, what are key success factors, and strengthen new voices, and also understand skills gaps and productivity constraints, especially foundational, soft, industry-specific, and also negative perception about agriculture among young people by showcasing successful agribusinesses and role models as role models and catalysts. And their journey was in actually three big phases. In the first phase, we just wanted to map who are these agripreneurs that we talk about, what motivates them, what are they doing, what are their challenges, where are they on the value chains, and then a convening platform, which is basically a learning and networking event. This was at Ghana, there was one in Tanzania, and then we had also webinars to bridge gaps, knowledge gaps in terms of identifying needs and also deliver programs to practitioners. And therefore, we hope to get young-led agribusiness enterprises that are creating jobs and upgrading the value chains, and also development of leadership skills. So I think we can go to the next slide. So in terms of who are these? In terms of age, the majority were actually 25 to 29, a few are in 30, 34, and some few above 35, some, and also quite a few, mostly in Tanzania, much younger, 20 to 24. So I can see actually these are within the youth, the category of the youths as defined by Africa Union, who are there. And then also what motivates them, and you can see it's mostly interest, and also interesting enough, I think what I have highlighted there. It's not being inspired by others, it's more of interest. Okay, let's go. Yeah, fine. And so age of the enterprises, most of them were 2 years or less, a few, maybe about 30 to 30%, a third of them were in the range of 3 to 5 years, and some were in the range of 6 to 16 years. So there are some which have been there for some time, again showing that youth can actually run businesses for some time. Business plan, some, many, and also much more in Ghana. Yeah, business plan and also marketing plans. And in terms of register, I guess the other thing we were really interested in is formalization. So you find that about a third, almost a third in Ghana were formalized, but in Tanzania only a half. And we're maybe asking the reasons why. Probably the biggest reason was a bit of cumbersome, but also some were waiting, quite a number were also waiting, about a quarter were waiting. Other reason was waiting for partners to agree, and so on. So those are some of the reasons. Let's go ahead. And then where are they in the value chain? You can see the majority of them are actually in production, more so in Ghana, production. There are also people in the input provision, and this is mostly more so in Tanzania, people who are doing input and farm services. And then processing, also quite a bit of activity in Tanzania with about 40%. I guess, don't think these figures don't necessarily need to add up to 100% because some people can be more than one part of the value chain. So, and also in post-farm commerce and distribution were also activity there. And then key customers, they tended to be mostly consumers as expected, but also there are also who are also suppliers to other businesses, private companies, and also suppliers to farmers. As we say, some people are input providers. So also farmers were customers, but very few supply to governments and also NGOs. Let's go ahead. So in terms of business, this obviously we know finance is a key challenge. And you can see most people were actually financing mostly from their own personal savings, a few from loans from family. That's the next big source of finance. Institutions, very few, mostly in Tanzania, 11%, Ghana much less so. Grants from NGOs, government also, very few people got that. Yes, and then from the other key thing, obviously, about business is information, because we know information is key. It's how you understand where to get finances, where to get markets, where to source inputs. And you find that mostly was networking and personal interactions. Again, this obviously tells you there's a challenge, because if you are dealing with your own social network, it means that you're very limited. And social media also, that has a reach also is quite used. But websites and blogs, much less used, flyers and posters. Radio and television, not actually used, yet we would expect that to be a big source of information. So again, here you can see, yes, there is a challenge in terms of where people get information. And education, this is combined, all of them. As we expected, these were mostly graduates, people who are in universities. A few had even gone to postgraduates, yes. And then training had received, some of them had received entrepreneurship, agricultural entrepreneurship, farming, technology, innovation. So they had received some training of some sort beyond education. In terms of challenges, why are these challenges? So there were those challenges that we wanted to find out at the startup stage, where the challenges and are ongoing, people who are, and what are the current challenges. So financial difficulties, as we saw before, we saw people are really using personal finances and from family and friends. So this has been a challenge from the beginning and continues to be a challenge, maybe a bit less of a challenge once somebody has established, because maybe there is some income from the business, but that remains a key challenge. There are also infrastructure and logistics, also another major challenge, markets, including suppliers, access, bureaucracy, difficulty with human resources, I guess. Those are some of the other challenges, and access to information and guidance. Again, the fact that people don't have information. So in terms of business threats, it's themselves. Where do they find threats? Access to funds, obviously, you need business, working capital to be able to run businesses. There's competition, again, also it's a challenge. Also, obviously, disasters, and also, obviously, these unforeseen things. Political economy, obviously, politics do impact how people. Let's move back a bit. Yes, good. Okay, in terms of where are the success factors and where do they see opportunities? There's a good leadership, passion and determination, quality human resource, good networks, quality market research, creativity and entrepreneurship, good working relationship, and so on. These were seen as the key success factors. And you can see leadership is really key. That was appreciated. So this was before we even, this was the survey of the various youths who are in the webinar or who are in the part of YIELD and those who are not. So you can see YIELD was actually looking about leadership. So it's really leadership they appreciate, more so than even passion and determination is important, but leadership is key. And what they see future opportunities, they see it's increasing demand, diversifying operation, using advanced technology, policy environment, obviously that matters a lot, but you can see really increasing demand, that is key. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what are they trying to do in terms of preparing for the future? I guess they're expanding and diversifying operation. Obviously, this is to meet, this is also follows from the fact that increasing demand is seen as key. Strategic business management, obviously being more strategic in terms of how you use resources, how you segment markets and so on. Investing in R&D, again, was also seen as important, and this really matters because that's how you grow. Strengthening marketing and advertising was also seen as important, and also funding. And catalyst, because I guess what do you need to really move and be able to secure? I think financial literacy becomes important. I guess business practices also are very important. Human resource, prudent investment, discipline, strategic leadership, partnership, and enabling business environment. Again, here finance also plays a role. Okay, let's go ahead, please. It's fine. And what are they? They want to, in the future, what do they aspire to be? Be relevant nationwide, expand and diversify, have impact in society. This is very important. So people just, they don't want to grow. They also want to have impact. They also want to employ people. They also want to bring in technology. Okay, let's go. And so this is just a quick overview of the convening we did in Ghana. It was about connecting resources. It was about new skills because we applied design thinking and problem solving, and also expanding networks. So we met the entrepreneurs met, new networks, profiles were shared in social media. Okay, they were also featured in radio and print and so on. And also at that event, we also created a beekeepers group. Let's go to the next slide. This is more of a repetition of what happened in the convenings, the Tanzania and so on. So in terms of, actually all the convenings had three components. There was about information, as we say, people, because some of this, the design of the convening was actually followed on the previous slide I showed, which was more of a survey before, of the surveys of all the very many, there were quite many entrepreneurs who were surveyed. And some of the things obviously we saw was information. So we wanted to provide information. So in both convenings, both in Ghana and what, people were brought in. So in Ghana, we brought national business, this is a government and support institution, NBSSI, that provided information about what is the support from government, because there are many governments are doing things, giving you access to information, access to finance, access to other things. Also, the agribusiness chambers came to give ideas, what they have from their own networks. Also, we have the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program, the Ghana, which is part of another government program to support the youth specifically, and also was talked about what is about that, what they're giving. And as I said before, we did capacity building, and also there was networking. This one I have already explained. So when we come to the Tanzania convening, let's go back a bit to Tanzania convening. Which was held in, it was also building, again, there was a talk from IITA, FAO, again, more information, motivation talk of, and I think she'll be speaking here. That was very important because, again, you also want to see people who have succeeded, they give you their lessons and so on. And therefore, this was a very inspiring talk. There was also capacity building in terms of strategy development and business planning, and also networking. Again, here we also saw interesting things because there was a partnership that was made between one Tanzania and one Ghana company in terms of agreeing to share research and share ideas. And there's also one of the entrepreneurs also was able to strike a partnership on supplying to another one. So again, this was also achieved. Let's go ahead. So again, these are some of the pictures of the convening to just capture what was happening. And you can see on the right side there, the bottom right, there was the two partners who were signing an agreement. That was really the highlight of the Tanzania convening, where the two signed an agreement. And probably they'll tell us about this, how far they have gone as we go along. Let's go. So webinars, as I said, again, webinars was also to build capacity. And I guess this was also developed from the initial survey that we identified what are the key needs. So we did a number of webinars on innovative financing, on marketing strategies, on financial management tips, on human resource and management, on leadership, on access and export, on maximizing partnership for success, on navigating. And all this was done with various experts from the various areas. Again, addressing the challenges that we identified as having, impacting on young and agripreneurs. Go ahead, please. Therefore, we also did an outreach because part of it is also to popularize and also make, because we want people to know the agripreneurs, they're there, they are providing certain things, so to help in networking. So we had a number of things. So there were events that were showcased. I think the fourth RENAPRI meeting, the YIELD program was showcased, and some of the young entrepreneurs were also part of it. The same thing with Africa Transformation Forum to be held in Ghana was also showcasing. And actually this year, because of COVID, there was also another, a bigger forum that was also to be held here in Nairobi, in Kenya, but again, didn't happen because of COVID. That was also going to showcase, actually to have a forum. So again, the 2018 Think Tank Summit also held in Ghana. Again, the two KPIs also gave a talk on this, and they showcased YIELD. Also, part of the media website and social media accounts were created, and this one also got a good reception. We had all profiles of agripreneurs published on the website. Let's go back a bit. And also we had some radio programs also done, interviews that were done on TV, okay, or on radio. Let's go ahead. And other things also, papers and reports were also produced. So we have a YIELD approach. There was blogs, there was addressing youth challenges, again, a background paper on highlighting government and other stakeholders supporting youth, background paper highlighting country level in agriculture, draft policy against promoting youth enterprises, Sub-Saharan Africa for Tanzania. We have a documentary on WIN, and you can find it there on that website. The agripreneur monograph is being produced, a draft of it has been done, it's still being finalized, and a market guide again that will also help agripreneurs is also being done. The monograph is actually to help people who want to support youth to understand. It's capturing all this help. Who are the youth? What are they doing? What are their challenges? Where can you help them? So again, this is going to be really the document that we hope that people can come in and see where to intervene. Let's go ahead. And in terms of impact, what have we done? We have some products have been developed. So one of the entrepreneurs went to green paper because grows quickly, moves. So again, this also came from networking. Somebody comes and realizes I've been doing this. I can also do green paper because one of the other was doing green paper. So advice against also. So there was a flow of information, and we wanted people to meet, and there was to be ideas to flow and information to flow. Okay, so somebody also moved to herbicides, small farm machineries. Again, this was a part of strategy that we helped in terms of helping them to expand their business and think of, move their strategy forward. So I guess that was also another thing that we saw. Goat and rabbits also became, and local indigenous chicken. Okay, somebody says wanted to create again new streams of revenues, diversify. Part of the strategy was this diversification. Fish feed was also another One of the other entrepreneurs went to fish feed and poultry, again, as a part of diversification strategies, and also added the layers. Again, these are some of the things that we saw. Vegetable, green peppers, aquaculture, mobile barbecue, digital payment platform, again, door-to-door. Again, this is also showing that people moving into different ways of marketing because they were doing goods and they were doing in certain ways, but then they saw they can also start door-to-door marketing. And again, also bakery, also interesting line of business was added, and so on. So we can see people actually did move ahead and did new things, diversified, found new business models, and so on. Again, this is what we wanted to see. Let's move ahead. And in terms of impact, again, also we said we wanted to see impact from community, not on the business itself. And you can see from turnover, we saw an increase in turnover for 75% of the businesses we surveyed after the yield. Some also had a decrease. Some say that, but as you can see, there was an increase in turnover, increase in permanent employees, increase in part-time employees. So these are the community impacts. And you can see both in Tanzania and also in Ghana, there was impact in terms of employees and part-time employment. So I guess these are an important community impact. Let's go ahead. So again, this is just more of the Tanzania that we saw there. There was Abdul Mukono and Makaru also. What they did, we did a capacity building grant as part of YIELD. There were some people who we saw good potential, so we gave some grant to see how they can grow their business. And one of them was Makaru Enterprises, and I think he'll talk. So he acquired a processing plant, actually was doing chilies and now wanted to do processing of chilies, so acquired a small processing plant with a grant. And impact was personal recognition, increased trust from customers, increased visibility in the community, and they have seen a significant expansion in enterprise activities, increased number of employees, increased production from 4.5 to 100 tons per month. It's quite big, actually. That's quite substantial, and I guess we would want to hear how they were able to do that, because this is quite impressive. A new market outlet, because now they could process chilies, so they had a new market and so on. Also in Tanzania, we also had Philemon who was doing bees and also renovated the beehive factory, making commercial hives, purchased simple machine for beehive assembling, again, increased morale for more rewards in the near future, increased credibility among beekeepers, because I think Philemon has a very good model where they are doing a lot of outsourcing. So because they could increase capacity to have beehives, they could also increase the number of people who are doing who are doing the outsourcing for bee production. So increase operational and storage space, increase number of employees, again, was the impact, increased production, and increased revenues. So so this is just an example from Tanzania. Also, these are the examples. In Ghana, we also had e-juice that moved to processing juice and increased sales, and e-juice can also explain in this forum what was happening. You can see down there, there was the chili production machine there that was bought, and also you can see Philemon and the new product that they were able to produce. Let's go ahead. So other impacts: fostering new relationships, partnership between agripreneurs, creating avenues for continued mutually beneficial engagements across institutions, scaled out youth agricultural enterprises, in addition to scaling up the YIELD participants agri-enterprises. So I guess there was scaling up, as we said, scaling out, and scaling up. So there's a scaling up that we did, but also there was an element of scaling out to other youth enterprises, and also motivating other people to do better. So there was a spillover, what you'd call, because what you want is when you train people and they go back to where they are, there can be spillovers and so on. Let's go ahead. And lessons learned. Capacity building there needs to be flexibility timing of webinars to session to available. Okay, there was obviously not everybody could attend the webinar, so there was a need to really be more flexible in timing the webinars and getting people to move. And I think also there we also found I think we did put the webinars so that somebody can get them at their own time. Obviously, there's need to think of whether you need to do them synchronously, because then you need to have everybody on time, or to have a kind of a mix of synchronous and asynchronous so that people can also learn at their own pace. So yeah, that's something we learned. Agriculture is not only farming, obviously. There are many, as we saw, there are many stages. There's from inputs to processing to production, to logistics, to marketing and other services. And we saw, yes, people can do more than that. Yes, profit captures youth interest. Youth participants who decided to become entrepreneurs for reasons other than interest, after realizing profits from their enterprises, and they attracted others to become. Again, people could see, yes, this is something that you can support you as your income. Also capacity building through training alone has not proved much successful. It could be more effective by facilitating youth access to resources, including access to finance. As we said, yes, finance obviously was the biggest challenge, really. Much as people want to be built capacity, HR and so on, from all the surveys even we showed before, without finance, you're almost a non-starter, and linking them to markets. And we saw that is the greatest demand they have in terms of going future, what they want to do in the future is actually linking to market. So I think we should really prioritize financing and also prioritize the linking to markets. Because once we have that and we have a business, then we can talk of building capacity, because the other one is about helping people to utilize the opportunity. But you must have the opportunity first before you can even build the capacity to utilize that. And opportunity is obviously made possible by finance and also by markets. So, okay, let's go ahead. I think this was the presentation. Thank you so much. So we can have questions. I don't know, Kwame, back to you. We'll see.
Yeah, so I thank you very much, Julius, for that good overview of the journey that YIELD has been on over the past nearly 3 years now. I think I will, in the interest of time, we'll just take maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And we also have an opportunity. I see Paula Chu's hand up. Paul, do you have any questions?
Hello?
Hello, Paul, do you have any questions? I see your hand up.
Yeah, my good afternoon and good morning or wherever it is to everyone. My question is for me, the presentation actually spell out some of the key issues as a young people and as a young people who are in the agri space as well. But my question is come back to the system. What are some of the support systems ready available aside the financial that I've talked about and then the capacity? But what are some of the support system which is quite available for any other youth, maybe not really related in Ghana, in Tanzania, but then other people, other youth within the West Africa or the East Africa scope? And then also, what are some of the thematic area when we are talking about support system for youth in terms of finance? For me, I think that finance is fair for us, but that we need a system which is, or an environment which is quite suitable and available for us, not much stressful as the young people. So I just need a simple explanation or simple thought about that. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, maybe we can all chip in here, but maybe to say in terms of support system beyond Ghana and Tanzania, really we kind of focus on Ghana and Tanzania, and obviously there are support systems by government and other people. There are quite a bit of other people, MasterCard, other people, but governments actually do have programs that are trying to support in terms of finance, in terms of various intervention. As we saw in Tanzania, also we had the IITA program, which is part of the program by, I think, AFDB, together to support young entrepreneurs, which is also being implemented in many countries across Africa. It's called Enable Youth. Actually, that is probably one of the more famous programs, because I think it's almost being done in all countries. But as you said, I think information is really quite the most important thing, because the people don't know. Their things are there, but the information is not there. So I think for me, is how we can help people to find ways to get access to information so that they can know where the support is. But I think Kwame has done quite a bit of this, and maybe he can add to that. But before we add to that, in terms of finance, which we actually say that it's quite a challenge, I think also we were exploring as part of this to see how we can establish a fund, maybe where people can access round robin, so that some of these ideas have been raised. How can you put a seed funding and people can be borrowing and so on, and understanding how we can manage it. But maybe I'll let you, Kwame, to come in here and give some more insight.
Julius, thank you very much for the response. Paul, I think you asked a general question about the entrepreneurship ecosystem, which is one of the focus of discussion in the second panel. So I wouldn't want to take the words out of the mouth of our panelists. So I will just wait till when we get to that point and let our panelists address that question. But I know that there is a growing entrepreneurship ecosystem across the sub-region. Julius mentioned the Enable Youth. I know the FAO, the IIT, all of them are implementing different initiatives to address all the issues that you raised. And I will let the panelists address that when we get to the second panel discussion. In the interest of time, I would want us to move on. We have an opportunity to hear from agripreneurs that participated in the YIELD program to share their experiences. So without much ado, I want to invite Ms. Talita Pam, who will moderate that panel discussion for us. So Talita, and the panel is over to you.
Right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our very special symposium today. Today I'll be interviewing 4 panelists, 4 very special, distinguished entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure of meeting and interacting with over the course of the past 3 or so years. In the chat, I believe Ms. Elizabeth will put their full profiles and social media links. So I am not going to do a deep dive on all 4 entrepreneurs, but I will be interviewing Samuel Gyan, who is the CEO of JEGS, Jessica Cusberth, the CEO of Meal Lab Catering, Eunice Kakari of E-Juice and OK Bakery, and lastly, Abdul Nkono of Makuru Agro Enterprise. We'll just jump right into the panel. And my first question is for Samuel. Samuel, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you to educate us and the rest of the listeners. What are some of the experiences that you have had with YIELD? What has YIELD done for you as an agro-entrepreneur?
Okay. From my perspective, the YIELD program has given me more insights and understanding into the various perspectives as a young agripreneur and as a young entrepreneur. One of the key things that has been a takeaway for me is the establishment of a partnership in an East African market, where we formalize the various things, and then we are working on the various things to make sure that once we are entering the East African market, we can be able to move forward in that regard. The other major thing I learned is that a good company is one that ensures that its waste can generate revenue for the company. So based on that, we've been able to integrate a good waste resources management to make sure that whatever that we do as a company be able to improve its sales and pattern. And the various webinars and interaction with other entrepreneurs also gives insight into how to deal with the challenges that we face as entrepreneurs and as youth coming up. So for me, the youth program has been good and it's been better, and I would encourage and share and invite others to also join as we go on.
Thank you very much, Samuel. It's really interesting to hear, especially your point on how waste can be turned into something else. You still have 1 minute. Do you want to expatiate on that a little more?
Okay, so as a company, we used to, when we grow our various things and we process them, the stuff that comes off from the pepper are usually waste materials that we don't use. Sometimes we throw them away because we break them, and then when we do the salting. But once we throw such material away, such material, because it's part of the pepper and it's peppery and it's hot, when we grind them, we mix them with the various insecticides that we spray. And when we spray these things, they also help to keep ants and certain insects away from the plants. And this helps to generate revenue. Now, the other thing is that the workers on the farm, when they finish eating their food product, they used to throw it away because we're not doing animal husbandry or something to sustain them. But we realized that we got some chicken for them to rear around. And on this food that comes out, they give it to these animals who feed on. And then they produce eggs to sustain them and provide them with food and others. So based on this understanding, now anything we engage in, we are thinking about making sure that any waste products that will come within the cycle of business, value can be added onto it to also generate revenue.
Thank you. That sounds really interesting. Eunice, I'm going to jump straight to you. And in like 2.5 minutes, can you tell us about some of your experiences as a female entrepreneur? How has that been for you? What are some of the experiences that you've had that you would want to share with us today?
Okay, so my journey as a female entrepreneur has not come easy. The journey has been with all the challenges, great opportunities, sometimes sharing tears, breakthrough, and then lastly, anxious moments. Working as a female entrepreneur, and specifically the agri sector, is a daunting task. I face the challenges of parents disapproving, thinking that it is better to work in an office than to come up with something on your own. The challenge of raising funds for my business, especially in a risk venture of agro-business and agro-processing, where no financial house is ready to support. Also, the cumbersome regulatory requirement with the FDA, Food and Drugs Authority, and then the infrastructure of some of the agro-processing, which is non-existing locally, and above all, the challenges of dealing with managing your own business. Despite these challenges, I have been able to raise the odds to build 3 companies, to build 3 strong businesses. The first is the fruit juice, where we process the fruit and vegetable into juices. The second one is the bakery, where we process cassava, soya, and then the wheat into bread and pastries. It takes a lot of perseverance and determination and a never giving up attitude. One cannot give up. One cannot give all that he has alone. You need a good team and a supportive family to succeed. And this has been my experience as a female entrepreneur, especially in the agro sector. Thank you.
That's really interesting. And Eunice, you have thrown a lot of information at us, from registering with government parastatals to raising funds to, human resource and all that. So I'm really hoping that in the questions and answers, somebody will pick up on one of these things and just ask you to expatiate on it some more, because I have also interviewed Eunice and she has a wealth of experience. Always ready and willing to share if anyone wants to talk to her some more. I also have Abdul with us. And Abdul, I want to ask you, what has YIELD done for you? What have you benefited from this relationship that we have enjoyed these past few years? How has it helped your business?
The YIELD project actually was one among our it should be clear that we were lacking some knowledge on issues like management. We were lacking knowledge on how we can improve our products, how can we increase quality of our product proposition. So through the YIELD project, now we have the machine that we get from the YIELD project. We can convert our product from dried chili to the older one. And apart from that, we can use some in drying our chili. So the value proposition of our chili was being good. And in fact, our management team was good. That's why, as I'm talking to you right away, we have a lot of flourishing clients, buyers, because of the quality of chili we have. And in fact, because of our team, we create something known as credibility to our clients. So this is very good, and we're very happy to have the YIELD project with us. So that is all we can say from the YIELD project.
That's wonderful. Abdul, you still have like a minute to talk, and I was wondering if you could also just talk very briefly on some of the work you're doing in the community with some of the farmers that are supplying you with chili also.
Okay, it should be clear that the project that we're dealing here in Tanga is production of African red-eyed chili. And before that, we were just producing chili as company basis. But due to increase in demand, we were needed to have some outgrowers. So through the outgrower scheme, we are now able to employ our fellow youth all over Tanzania who are producing chili on behalf of the company. You can see we're just producing only 5.5 tons a month. But right now we have more than 200 plus farmers who produce 1 ton each. That's why we are moving in a very good stage. So you can see through this project of outgrower scheme, it is where we give some other youth opportunity of producing African red-eyed chili, using our knowledge, using our education, and various services that we're providing to them, like pesticides. And at the end of the day, we are the market. We are going to buy from them. And see, from company basing in producing African red-eyed chili, now we are giving Tanzania an opportunity of engaging in the same product while sharing the market with us.
That is truly wonderful. You're able to support your business and the community, and that's what we appreciate about our YIELD entrepreneurs in both Ghana and Tanzania. For those of you that don't know, you've heard chili from Abdul and chili from Samuel. They have actually formed a partnership through YIELD where they're able to exchange products and produce, and it's just a beautiful partnership. Jessica Cosworth is also with us. She's the CEO of Meal Lab Catering. Just hearing that makes us hungry, right? But Jessica, I want to ask you, what are some of your experiences and challenges as an agro-entrepreneur? Jessica, are you with us? It looks like we lost her. So I'm just going to come around.
Muted.
Oh, she's muted?
She's muted. Yeah.
Well, we're actually running slightly behind schedule. And since, okay, Jessica.
Yes.
Can you speak very briefly now, like in 1 minute, on some of your challenges as an entrepreneur?
Okay, lack of customers. Because this catering service here in Morogoro, there is a lot of people, those who are having more than 11 working experience. With me, I have only 1 year of experience. So most of people don't match, they need to know everything. So if I'm going to compete with competitors have to lose it. So the challenge that I'm facing right now, it's about the customers. I don't have customer. I have parties, but I don't have those customers for every day. So the business is doing only for events.
So, Jessica, your network was not very clear, but I'm sure we got a general blanket picture of what she's trying to say. She has also been very hard hit with the COVID situation, as you can expect. There isn't a lot of large events and catering. So I'm just going to come back round and starting again with you, Sam. If you had the audience of a government or a government official or a policy maker, what do you want them to know about youth entrepreneurs in Africa?
From my perspective, Africa is made up of the youth in terms of our population. So labor force for the future, it's good. What is needed is that the enabling environment and at least some revolving fund and some structures are put in place that are non-political to help grow entrepreneurs, especially those that have gone past the startup stage or post-startup businesses. So that once these businesses are grown up, we can be able to take advantage of the free African continental trade happening, so that the various young people who have small startups, who have small businesses, can trade between themselves within the various countries. If these policies are put in place and there are necessary support for the young people who are now starting their businesses and grow, at least this can be able to grow the businesses. Even in worst case scenario, the well-established businesses, the young ones can be matched up with these ones, but there should be laws in place to be able to protect their ideologies and what they are doing, so that they are not the labor force, the knowledge and skills that they have, they can be able to grow various businesses they are doing. The young ones are doing great things, but we need the necessary support. We need the necessary structures to support and grow the various things that we are doing. From my part, a non-political revolving fund to grow businesses would help, and then be able to ensure the youth contribute their quota to the development of our African country.
That sounds, I wish we could do that. I wish I had a wand to do that. Thank you. Eunice, in 1 minute, could you just tell us what would you say to other entrepreneurs that are contemplating going into entrepreneurship?
All right, so I want to tell my fellow young entrepreneurs that the journey as an entrepreneur is not an event. It is a long process, and that needs some level of patience, continuous learning and innovating as you grow. You will never get everything right from the beginning. They just have to move on and grow. There is so much untapped opportunities out there for the agripreneurs. And so I want to encourage them, they shouldn't give up. Sometimes it may seem that all hope is gone, but they need to move on with determination. They can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. That is very heartfelt, and I wish every young person could hear that. Abdul, what would you say to people that say that farming is difficult? It's not fruitful. It's for older generation. It's hard work. What would you say?
Yeah, farming actually, it is not for the older generation. It should be clear that nowadays we are facing some biggest problem on the world. For example, hunger problem, unemployment problem. So these are the biggest problem through which we as youth, we are needed to be the one in front line to solve the problem. You can see in agriculture right nowadays, when we are producing agricultural crops, there are two things in one. That's why we say we are just hitting two birds with one stone. At the same time, while we are producing goods and we're selling to our clients, we are creating food. So we are solving one among the global challenge. And the other one, in the process of producing agricultural products, we need some people who can assist us through the whole value chain. It is where we give employment to the other youth. So you can see this is something that we need to do at the youth, and we can't say that this is for the older generation. So I encourage my youth to engage in agriculture at large, because it is where there is a room where we can create employment opportunity and solve food challenges. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a really good answer. And yet again, something that everybody needs to hear. Jessica, what would you say? What would you say to other entrepreneurs that are unemployed and are just at home? How would you encourage them to go into agro-entrepreneurship? In 1 minute, please.
Okay. My advice for the young people, for those who have already educated, they have to go to the society, to the village, okay, and try to solve the challenges that around the village, especially farming. While trying to solve that problem, it will push them to do any kind of business, regardless of the education level. Maybe they can be holding the master's or degree level. They can just quit it out and go direct for the engaging in trying to use their energy, their mind, and solve the problem during the problem along the societies.
Thank you, Jessica. So I'm done with my questions, but we have about 29 people on this Zoom webinar, Zoom symposium. So if you have any questions, please, the floor is yours. I understand that there is a hand up, even though I cannot see it. If your hand is up, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah, very good afternoon from Ghana.
Good afternoon.
And then my name is Palas. Thank you for this opportunity. I have a question directed towards Eunice. You know, when in her delivery, she spoke on some of the challenges and shortfalls she had to encounter. And it would be interesting to know. I'm more interested in the bureaucracy segment, because it's a huge problem here in Ghana. I'm sure also in Tanzania as well. How did you circumvent that hurdle? We know the Registrar General, the organization that registers business in Ghana, is doing a lot to shorten this process or make it less cumbersome. How did you, as an organization, scale this fence? Especially because we know access to financing is already difficult, and if you're not able to register your business, then that even becomes more hard to deal with. So, could you kindly talk a little bit on how you're able to work around the issue of bureaucracy? Thank you.
Is Eunice still with us? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, as I said, it wasn't an easy journey. I started applying for the FDA way back in 2015. And I tried several times. I paid for the first fee. It wasn't easy. And then across the line, I won some awards from YIELD, that is Youth Enterprise Support Fund. I also won an award from Total Startup of the Year. I was the second runner-up. And so I got some funding from there to register the FDA. My challenge with the FDA was, they wanted us to, some came, they wanted us to give them some types of bribery, but I stood at the ground and told them I will not. And so it prolonged the regulatory. And then just last 2 years, I had the FDA certification, though it was cumbersome.
So Samuel said he wants to add something to what Eunice is going to say in that regard.
Okay, so I think the experience I would share is that as entrepreneurs, our social capital is also very, very important. And then our network is also very important. So at the end of the day, these bureaucratic systems would definitely be there. Most of the institutions like YIELD, ACEPT, and the rest are trying to take some of these bureaucratic processes off. But we, on our part, also should try and build some social network so that we can plan ahead, and then maybe through the social networks that we have and others, we see how best we can be able to get what we need within the time period that we need it. As Eunice shared the example, the issue with the FDA, it took her some years and certain experiences before she got it. And once you start as an entrepreneur, your first year usually becomes frustrating and quite painful. But I strongly believe that if we build the right social network and then we talk to the people within our network that this is what we want to do, they would be able to advise us and even recommend some people that we can talk to help us to facilitate the process so that it will not be so cumbersome for us. But as entrepreneurs, our basic goal is to solve problems. Unfortunately, most of the problems we'll have to deal with in our part of the world are quite challenging than others. So let's try and build and improve upon our social relationships so that at least it becomes much more easier in addressing some of the issues that we will face in our part of the world in terms of building our businesses and growing it.
Thank you. Patas, you're in the right place. There are several people here and in the next panel that you will meet that have thriving businesses now. So I want to encourage you of the utmost to try to connect with them and discuss exhaustively on this topic, because I know it is a challenge, but there are solutions and answers. We have another question in the chat, two questions actually. Maybe Abdul, can you answer the first one? It says, has your business plan, or was your business plan key in developing your business? And then Jessica, maybe you answer the second one, that is, how sustainable is market lineage while dealing with customer base and their products? Once more, in just 1 minute for each of you, and I think that will have to close this session.
Okay, business plan has a very good impact in business development and business strategy as well. It should be clear that business plan, it is a roadmap through which it tells on how the business will be done, taking into account some expenses as well as revenue. So if each and every company resources is put in one place, you can be in a position to know which journey are you traveling. That's why you can hear some people say that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is all about business plan. So have business plan at hand. It will tell you which are challenges that you'll be facing and what are the exit strategy when you face those challenges. And that's why I'm encouraging my fellow youth, before they start any kind of business, they should at least have this business plan, because it will also have impact to some of the financial institutions. When you go there and you want to get money, they will ask you to have your business plan. That's all about business plan.
Yeah. Jessica, the question again was, how sustainable is market lineage while dealing with customer base and their products? I'm not very sure I understand this question. Paul, are you here? Paul isn't here, but maybe you can shed some light about dealing with your customer base.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, Paul, just quickly.
Yeah, well, I was typing, but then my laptop or my phone goes somewhere. So what I simply mean is that, when we are talking about the market linkage, my question is simple. How sustainable is their market linkage when they are dealing with their customers and then the product?
Jessica, that question is for you, or any of the other panelists.
Okay. Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. For the business, and I'm just using advertisement for the social media platform. I have our Instagram page. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. Also, we have our website. in which when we are doing this business, we just post them and share with different groups of people, maybe in WhatsApp group and everywhere. We can just go for the radio or TV, etc., etc.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. So I want to thank you all for being with us. In the chat, I see a response from Joshua, another entrepreneur from Ghana, in response to your question, Padlas. You can read it, but yet again, it illuminates some of the issues that we deal with in regards to bureaucracy for entrepreneurs. So once more, I encourage you all to exchange contacts. Your country offices through the university and assets are available to facilitate networking opportunities and just anything you need so that we can keep the conversation going. So thank you to my panelists. I appreciate you, and thank you all for listening in.
Thank you very much, Talita, and thank you, the YIELD Agripreneurs, for those insights into your experiences. And I know that this is not enough time to exhaust all the things that we need to discuss. And I believe that this is just starting the conversation, and we will be able to continue this conversation outside of this particular forum. So we will move on to our next panel discussion, which I'm privileged to moderate. And I will begin, and the topic is nurturing an entrepreneurship ecosystem for young agripreneurs. And I believe it has essentially become a cliche that Africa faces a huge employment challenge. And one of the mechanisms that has often been suggested is entrepreneurship. And we consider entrepreneurship to be an important pathway to be able to harness young people's creativity for development and addressing this employment challenge. But we also know that entrepreneurship do not just happen in a vacuum. Young people need a conducive entrepreneurship ecosystem to thrive. So what does that conducive entrepreneurship ecosystem entail? To what extent is Africa's entrepreneurship ecosystem even suitable for young people? And what role can the various stakeholders, we're talking about the government, parents, and then even the young people themselves, what can they do to help nurture such an entrepreneurship ecosystem? So that is going to be the focus of our discussion. And I'm really pleased to be joined by an august panel of accomplished entrepreneurs and practitioners who will help me address some of these questions. So just like the previous panel, I'm going to start off with a few questions and then we'll open it up to the audience to ask questions. I would also encourage you to use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen to ask questions that you have, and then also contribute to the discussion in the chat as well. So without much ado, I would want to go ahead and introduce our panelists for today. I have Ms. Hadija Jabri, who is the founder and managing director of Glean company, which is a horticultural company in Tanzania that produces vegetables and fruits for local and exports. You would see Hadija's profile or bio in the chat to learn more about her. I also have Mr. Joshua Aimbora, who is the CEO of the Grota Farms, a pineapple and vegetable producing company in Ghana. And then Mr. Franklin Owusu-Kakari, who is the Director of Business Support for the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, which is under the office of the President of Ghana. And then last but not least, I have Mr. Daniel Nwira, who is a mentorship manager at the Tanzanian Entrepreneurship and Competitiveness Center, which is a product of a public, private, and academia partnership that promote entrepreneurship culture and support small businesses to develop relevant competencies. Please, let's welcome the panelists. So thank you all very much for coming. And you would also, as I mentioned earlier on, you will see their bios in the chat as well. So Hadija, I'm going to start with you, and I want to thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure to see you. I must say that you are more or less, by all accounts, a very success story when it comes to agricultural entrepreneurship among young people. You set up your own business and has been able to tap into the export market. So the first question that I would want to ask for, you is, why is even nurturing an entrepreneurship ecosystem for young Africans, especially agripreneurship, even important? Just set the stage for us.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm really thrilled to be in a group of men. I think on the panel, I'm the only lady. Yeah, but I'm just trying to think of a young person is starting a business. When you are starting a business, most of the time, you are in the disadvantaged position. In a way, you might be having little resources or no resources at all, but you are at that point where maybe you do not even have technical know-how of what you want to do, but also you do not have the right network. It was mentioned earlier, you don't know who to talk to, where to get the support you want. So why is it important to nurture the entrepreneurship ecosystem, especially for agripreneurs in Africa? It's because of the advantages which are there for African economies. For me, first, I'm just looking at the resources which we have as a continent. First of all, Africa is blessed with land. 60% of arable land, which is fit for production of food, is in Africa, but also we have good weather. In our case, we are growing vegetables for export market, and we do have some types of vegetables which we can grow from January to January. But I'm also looking at the weather shocks. We do not have snow in Africa. Secondly, it's the market opportunities which are there. I'm always not bounded by borders. I believe you can do whatever that you want to do where you are and take it to the global market. So looking at Africa itself, with a population of more than 2 billion people, it poses market opportunity for food products, but also last, it's the challenges which are in different value chains, and challenges means opportunities. So agripreneurs can just chip in and solve the problems which are there, in return start businesses and grow businesses. So for me, I think the reason why it's really important to nurture the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Africa is because of its advantages in our economies.
Well, thank you very much for highlighting all those opportunities that is out there for young people to take advantage of, given the geographical location and all those factors that are there. I'll be happy to come back to probe a little bit more on that. But I just want to bring Joshua into this discussion. And Joshua, you are also a prime example of young people with skills that have gone into the agricultural sector. You went outside, you traveled outside to study, came back home and decided to go into the agricultural sector. And one of the question that I have now, as we're thinking about this entrepreneurial ecosystem, is what are some of those set of factors that need to be present as a young person to be present in the entrepreneurial ecosystem to make it conducive for a young entrepreneur? And is Africa entrepreneurial ecosystem even conducive?
All right, thank you for your question. I would start by saying that there are a number of things that can be done in the ecosystem to make it conducive for young people. We start by looking at the characteristics of young people who are very curious and looking for better lives. Mm-hmm. One of the key things that scares a lot of people out of the entrepreneurship ecosystem is access to flexible financial instruments. Yes, you can say there are lots of financial support that goes to a lot of young people to build businesses. However, when you look at the agriculture sector, there's very little of that existence. About 90% of financing that comes into our environment targets the tech people who are doing apps and people who are doing things, as opposed to people who are involved in direct food production. Because of this reason, lots of young people even try to modify their businesses to have the social tagging, just because there's lots of grants out there or lots of support for people that are running social enterprises, with very few attention given to profit-making or profit-driven small businesses. So anyone who comes into the ecosystem wants to use their social side as a tag to get it easy and grow easy. But if we all go into social entrepreneurship, no one is going to make the millions and the billions that Africa is blessed with. So apart from having flexible financial instruments for young to attract more people or to even keep the current entrepreneurs survive, there's also a lot of skills that young people need. Apart from the financial management and the normal things that we all know, leadership is very important in running your own business or as an entrepreneur. After 1 or 2 years, the business is not all about you anymore. You start to employ people, 1, 2, 3. Now we have about 28 employees. And if you can't have that leadership skills as an entrepreneur, your business fails after it starts to grow more than you can handle. So yes, flexible financial tools is important, but also tailored programs about leadership and growth is also required to attract more young people in the ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Joshua. So you touch on leadership, and then you also you touch on the flexible financial instruments, and you touch on skills, especially the leadership. Let me bring Franklin into the discussion also. And Franklin, you are an entrepreneurship yourself. You worked in the private sector and now working in government to help support other entrepreneurs. And my key question, you can speak from the Ghanaian perspective, but also broaden it across Africa, is to what extent is the Ghanaian, would you say that the Ghanaian ecosystem or the African ecosystem conducive for young people? And what are those key elements that is missing that we need to pay attention to in the ecosystem?
All right, thank you, Kwame. And good afternoon to the rest of the team and the panelists. It's an exciting time to be an entrepreneur, though challenging in this era of pandemic. And from where we sit, and personally for me, I think now there's a pressure on me because I know the challenges startups face and businesses face. And also now I'm in the policy position. So I am pushing a lot of policies to address the problems I face and I'm still facing as an entrepreneur. So previously, if you count years back, 5 years ago, the Ghanaian ecosystem was not active as it is today. And Joshua and Co will bear witness, those who are in, is quite very active and robust now. And it's happening also across most of the African countries as well. Now, most entrepreneurs are being exposed. If you look at the entrepreneurship ecosystem, when we came in, we realized that there were a lot of gaps in the system that needed to be addressed. Okay, first of all, policy-wise. Secondly, the needed infrastructure. Thirdly, financing, and also technical support for businesses to grow. These were key things. So now, if you look at the previously, it takes about 81 days to get your business registered in Ghana. And I know it's quite similar for other countries. Now today, within a week, you can get your business registered. Now, processes are being put in place, a number of policies are being developed. In Ghana, for instance, within the last 2 years, we're able to secure a policy directive from the government through the Ghana Revenue Authority that every young business person between the ages of 18 to 35 can be able to have a tax waiver for 5 years. And we have had a number of young entrepreneurs assessing this policy through NEIP, where I sit. And other policies are coming that is making the environment conducive. FDA now have created classes so that when you even fry plantain in your kitchen, you can get certification within just a week, where they give you a green or a pink label, a green label, a yellow label, depending on your size, so that kind of pressure these businesses were having is gradually being eroded. So the conducive environment is coming, but we are not fully there. I will say the truth, we are not fully there. There's still some work to be done. There are some missing gaps in the system. And one of them, as I said, policy directives. And I can tell you now, there's a wave of startup acts, that is a bill to regulate the startup economy in most African countries. Tunisia started. I was there to be able to see what Tunisia was doing. And now Tunisia is through, Senegal is through, Ghana have started. I'm currently the chairman for the Ghana Startup Act Committee. We're developing properly structured legal framework to be able to create the enabling environment for the ecosystem to be able to fully develop. So let me tell my colleagues here, my friends on this panel, that intellectual property, which some of you were talking about, the Act is going to address the issue of IPs, and access to flexible financing is going to be addressed through the legal framework. So these are some of the things that already is happening in Ghana, and through this conducive environment, we've been able to provide technical training and support for about 45,000 people within the last 3 years in Ghana. So it means that something is happening. And I know it's happening in Mali, it's happening in Senegal, it's happening in Tunisia, it's happening in Rwanda and Uganda as well. So the wave is coming. And I think after this program, I'll be meeting Daniel to see how we can help Tanzania, if they have not already formulated their startup act, to help them also to begin something seriously in Tanzania as well. So Kwame, a number of things are happening, but we'll get there to be able to have it really fine-tuned.
Thank you very much, Franklin. And Daniel, I will direct the same question to you also, to share some insights within the Tanzanian context. Would you say that the Tanzanian entrepreneurship ecosystem is conducive? And then what are those missing gaps? So, Daniel, Mr. Nguera? Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Kwame, and good evening, everyone from Tanzania. My name is Daniel Nguera. I work for an entrepreneurship development institution called the Tech, based in the commercial city of Dar es Salaam. But as I speak, I'm speaking from the northern part of this country called Arusha. And I would say, I would go direct to your question. I would say, first I give a very brief experience of tech. We have managed a youth entrepreneurship program in Tanzania for the last 5 years with the funding of international corporates. We covered 4 regions, and we have gathered quite a number of lessons that are really worth sharing with friends here. One, I would say, it is improving, but it is still a struggle for the young person in Tanzania really to go into entrepreneurship. And if I was to be very direct, I would say in Tanzania, one thing that is really key that we really need proper, I would say, proper methodologies or support institutions that can actually bring up and entice young entrepreneurs to really go into business. Because generally, I would say the entrepreneurship culture in Tanzania is gradually growing. We are making progress, but with our experience as an institution, we can't say that we have so many entrepreneurs, though we have a huge potential to really bring them in the picture. And so one one thing I would say, we really need institutions that can come up with proper methodologies to identify entrepreneurs and to give them the very basic initial support for them to get started. And if I talk about initial supports, BDS is number one. Entrepreneurs who really haven't started, I mean, they evidently need some guidances in terms of training, in terms of mentorship, in terms of connections, in terms of, you know, all these requirements for the ones to get started. But a very key one, which I have heard other people talk about it as well, is really financial services. Access to finance is still an issue in our case, and for young entrepreneurs, it's even worse. But opportunities are there. If I talk about the government itself, the government of Tanzania itself now is actually has a number of initiatives, including setting funds that are interest-free for young entrepreneurs to really access and do business. But you know, still you would find all these challenges of bureaucracies and you know, that are unfriendly access requirements from the authorities. But our experience working with the young people, I would say, if we can really build enough quality entrepreneurs, the opportunities are there, even for financing. I don't want to talk about the legal, regulatory, the taxation structures and all that. I mean, because these are the issues that are normally handled, you know, at different levels. And maybe we have structures, we have institutions that are dealing with those. But the key ones is to have quality entrepreneurs who needs to see the opportunities that are available. And for them to be able to do that, they really need proper methodologies to give them the support. So initially, that's what I would say, Kwame. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. I've taken some notes, and I would want to get back to you again with how do we build that entrepreneurship culture? And then how do we build that quality entrepreneurs? What are the mechanisms that we are going to use to do that? So I'll get back to you as a second a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
Okay. So let me go back to Hadija. We know that success is a team sport. No one achieves success all by themselves. So there are various stakeholders who play a role when we are developing our business, and government seems to be one key stakeholder, and then we have other stakeholders. So Hadija, can you please tell us what role, is there any role that that government played, or who are the other stakeholders that played a role for you to help you to be where you are?
Thank you so much for the question. Of course, the government has played a really important role to enable me to get where I am. And maybe I should just share this short story. I remember when I was starting, our business was like 3 months old. I went to Dodoma, our capital seat, and I managed to meet the Deputy Minister of Agriculture back then. His name was Mr. Olenasha. And I just gave him the vision of what I want to do. And what he said is, I believe in you, and as much as our office cannot give you money, but our job is to create an enabling environment for you to prosper, but also we can introduce you to other stakeholders who in one way or another, they will be able to help you with the support that you need. So the government has played a key role to enable us to be where we are in different ways. I do have a project which I am doing with the government. It's a public-private partnership project. And when I posed it on the table, it was accepted. Of course, maybe because what we are doing is is somehow innovative, and they just want us to be seen as example to other young people. But speaking of other stakeholders, we have partners in different areas. We have partners who are supporting us in technical side. We have partners who are helping us in the funding side. So for example, when I was starting, I was not able to get funding from financial institutions. Of course, I was young, I had no collaterals, and the business itself was not well understood, but development partners decided to look at it in a different angle, and they supported us with financing, which somehow has been helped us to build our asset portfolio, and now we're in a position where we can go directly to the banks. So generally, I think the support is out there. As much as our entrepreneurship ecosystem is not well developed in Tanzania, I agree with my brother who just presented a while ago, but I think as young entrepreneurs, we should not dose ourselves. We should not wait until the time when all the lights are green. It won't happen maybe in the near future, but you just need to go out there and look for the support which you need. But also, I feel like there are so many opportunities. If you see there is a funding proposal, for example, people who are interested to give you technical support, you just take that advantage, you do it, and you never know what will come out of that. So for me, I've been supported, and I'm really grateful for that, because whoever that was supporting Djibri, they have not only supported Djibri, but also the impact to the people we have been able to impact in the community around.
Well, thank you very much, Hadija. It's the notice. Just don't wait for the green light, young people. Just go and fish for those opportunities that are out there. I'll get back to you. Let me bring Joshua in. Joshua, you had mentioned the need for skills, leadership. Are there any pressing challenge that you face yourself, and what can government or other stakeholders do to help you alleviate that particular challenge?
Right, thank you very much. I'm just continuing from here where Hadija ended, because she mentioned one thing, which was financial challenges. Even though she got support, but then she had to go through a different method by using the PPP approach. Mm-hmm. So the challenges that we face as agriculturalists or as people investing our time and money in agriculture is that everybody perceives agriculture as a risk venture. Every lender or financial institution sees it that way. And there's very little tailored research that has proven to our local banks and institutions that yes, it's risky, but it's also rewarding. So that research or that information that a lot of lenders need to understand the risk and the motivation or the rewards of agriculture is missing. So when you go to sit in front of someone to look for money, all they count is the risk, and the risk, with very few attention paid to the rewards. So just to go back to what I said earlier, access to finance is a problem. When you're looking for small money, $1,000, $2,000, you can easily raise that. But when you start looking for serious money to do serious things, nobody wants to listen to you. I use myself as an example. When we wanted to build a factory for processing our dried fruits, we couldn't get any financial institution or government support to do that, because most of the financial instruments are either too large, in the millions of dollars, or they are either too small. So if you're looking for money about $100,000 or $200,000, it's very hard to get the likes of AgDevCo and other people to look into your business because it's small. And when you also take this business to local financial institutions or other companies or organizations looking at startups, you also have a very too much request. So you end up being in the middle where there's very few people or businesses that take care of that. So for our situation, we're looking for $120,000. We couldn't get it locally. With all the institutions that we know, we had to go out and we got the money in Europe. And now we are processing dried pineapple and exporting to Europe to the same company or organization that channeled or that brokered this investment for us. So locally, you have this challenge when you start looking for bigger monies to transform your business. And even in the agriculture space, when you start looking for money, most financiers wants to see the social side, which is you are taking care of smallholder farmers. So you see a lot of people adding things in their businesses that they shouldn't necessarily add. And I'm dealing with 100,000 smallholder farmers because they need to raise money. So they have to bring all these social things into the business. And at the end, you forget the commercial side of the business. And to other people listening to me, it's not a sin to tell people that my business, I'm here to make money. Yes, you are there to help a lot of farmers, but you also need the money to grow your business. And all the businesses that are donating to us now are also multi-million businesses. So don't force to modify your business to be a social machine when it's not. If you're looking for money, stick to it, and one day you start making the, the necessary money that you need as an entrepreneur to get out of the startup bubble. So many people after 5 years, 6 years, they still call themselves startups. 7 years, they still call themselves startups because it's a very comforting zone. You can get some grants and stuff like that. But get out of that. It can be very tough, but when you get out of that, you open yourself to a lot of scrutiny. But where there's scrutiny, there's also opportunity to make it. So yeah, the challenges are real in terms of access to finance, in terms of inadequate research to educate financiers about the risk and rewards of agriculture. And also the small attitude can also be with we, the entrepreneurs ourselves, when it comes to being honest whether we are driving a commercial business or we are driving a social business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I'll go back to Daniel because I believe that what Joshua is talking about, it's similar to what Daniel was speaking earlier on about developing that quality, developing that leadership and that drive to move out of that comfort zone of a startup to a business that is growing beyond that startup phase. So, Daniel, back to you again with the question that I had earlier. How do you build these quality entrepreneurs and create that kind of culture or that kind of quality entrepreneurs that are able to do that? And what is the role of the private sector in helping build these kinds of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kwame. I'm not sure when you talk about private sector, whether you're referring to private companies or corporates that exist in Tanzania, or probably you could be talking about business support organizations like the one that I'm managing at the moment. But all in all, what I would say, and I think some of the presenters here, my sister Adija and Abdul, would probably agree with me that we don't have many innovative entrepreneurs as we would have wished, the types of Adija and Abdul. For me, I would say we only have few of these because they are courageous enough, they were very creative, they are very persistent, they have their unique qualities that has taken them where they are at the moment. But what it doesn't mean that we don't have many other potentials out there. And that's why I would say incubation programs is the way forward. This is what I see. This is what we have done very little with the support from international corporates. We have been able to cover just a few entrepreneurs in 4 regions. And when you talk about 4 regions in Tanzania, that is just a drop. It's a big country. The population, the youth population is huge. But we see incubation services really, if properly designed and well managed, is the way forward for first identifying many other potentials, young entrepreneurs out there, and then taking them through the appropriate support services. Then I think if we have a few of these strong incubation programs, then in a few years, we should be having a lot of Hadijas and other Abduls as compared with the situation at the moment.
Thank you very much, Daniel. More of youth incubation programs to help nurture these quality entrepreneurs that we desire to move things forward. I will bring Franklin back in here. Franklin, we know that government play an important role. Private sector plays an important role. Even families play an important role. I know one of the panelists talked about how you are discouraged by your parents to go into these kinds of things. But I also believe that the young people themselves are not just powerless. They have some agency and they are able to influence things that are around. So my question to you, and I would also ask the other panelists to weigh in on this, is what can young people do themselves to help create that enabling entrepreneurship ecosystem?
All right, thank you very much, Kwame. If you look at it, Ghana, for instance, over 35% of the population are active, is the active youth who are trying to find their footing. And this is the time, and Daniel talked about it, we need to get the young people to be really serious, to be recognized. You see, when you are not seen as a serious person, people do not pay attention to you. And that's what is beginning to happen in Ghana and most of African countries now. The young people are beginning to rise up. They are taking entrepreneurship very seriously. That is why, if you look at the startup arts we are working around, for instance, is being led by people who are below 40. People, very young people, they are driving this change, this wind of change. There's pressure on government from the various entrepreneurship groupings and entrepreneurship supporting institutions. And these young people are running a number of advocacy issues and putting their issues forward to government and various government institutions. We need to be seen doing. And when government sees that this is the avenue that will solve my problem of graduate and young or youth unemployment, government will pay attention. Well, that's here. Government saw that the unemployment situation in Ghana is a time bomb. If quickly nothing is done, it's going to create a problem for the government itself. So quickly, the NAPO was brought in, that's the Nation Builders Call, to absorb about 100,000 of them, to distribute them. And we are using entrepreneurship as an exit strategy for some of the 100,000 that have been absorbed in the various sectors of the economy. From the entrepreneurship point of view, when the pressures were coming from the young people, governments have put in a number of measures in place. You know, Daniel talked about incubation. Now we have a well-structured incubation program that runs annually. And currently we've been able to identify over 80 incubation and accelerator hubs in Ghana. Some of them are purely dedicated to agribusiness incubator. And we're supporting them. Currently, we've received some World Bank funding to strengthen these incubation hubs to provide tailor-made technical support to go into supporting these young people. We've also looked at the entrepreneurship policy that will drive the environment. All these things I'm talking about have just been done within the last 3 years. So this entrepreneurship policy, we said the young people should own it so they can be able to drive. Now, I've been to a number of financing houses, and I even asked the ADB, Agriculture Development Bank in Ghana, that why is it that you are operating as if you are a commercial bank? And because the Agriculture Development Bank was solely made to support agriculture, but they themselves are running for their core mandates, thinking that it's a risky venture. And you know, my area of expertise is agriculture financing. And we are pushing for government's deliberate policy in terms of financing agriculture. And Joshua talked about the missing link. Is something really serious down here where there's huge funding sitting there. But if you want something below $1 million, they say you are too small for us to look at you. Then if you want something like $200,000, they said, oh, that's too small of money for us to give you. They want you to assess, but your capacity cannot assess $1 million, $2 million for your business. So there's that missing link gap. And even those who are offering these services to those in the agriculture sector, if a normal business is taking at a rate of 24% per annum, if you go in as an agricultural business, they will give it to you like 35% per annum. And these are challenges that we have tabled to be able to ensure that these things get into the policy and into the bill that we are formulating to go to Parliament, that there are deliberate policies for key sector areas that Ghanaian economy depends on, and one of such is agriculture. The digital infrastructure is something that we are trying to evolve in. Yes, we have to pay attention to that as well. But agriculture is one of the backbone, and we are putting these things into the act formulation that there should be deliberate financing policy for these areas. We're also looking at procurement, that a certain quota, now Ghana, the law we are working on will provide 30% of procurement issue will be reserved for young people. So young people can be able to bid for these opportunities, because you can't go and bid with the bigger companies. So when 30% of procurement, government procurement staff are reserved for young people, we believe that it will also help position them into a very good industry. And now we want to curb foreign importation. It could only be done by the drive the young people will have to go into agriculture. So NERP has introduced a agriculture modernization program through the greenhouse technology. And now we built the largest greenhouse estate in West Africa now. That is curbing importation of exotic vegetables from South Africa. Now ShopRite is buying from our farm, our greenhouse farms. So the 40-feet containers they have been bringing on a monthly basis, now they've cut the importation because we could provide those vegetables right here from Ghana. And this are being done by people who are even below 30 years. They are manning these greenhouse farms that we are putting up. We believe that when deliberate policies are in place, things will happen for the young people. But the young people must be seen serious, wanting to do something. Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you very much, Franklin. So in the interest of time, we will take maybe one or two questions from the audience. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand and we can unmute your mic to speak. But I'll also ask Joshua, Hadija, and Daniel to also share their thoughts on what can the young people themselves do to help bring about that change in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So either of you can jump in and answer that question.
Well, I think, Joshua here, I think young people should be curious and should want to get their hands dirty, because you can't just make $1 million sitting down like you see in the movies. It doesn't happen in reality. You have to get out there, be curious, work hard, and don't be afraid of the risk, and you will get the financial rewards.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, and maybe just adding a little bit to what he has just said, there is this famous statement, they say you can't learn how to swim by reading a swimming book. But now in major cities in Africa, there are so many incubation hubs. I would really encourage young people to join those communities, because that is the place where they can get the support they're looking for.
Good. And then Daniel, any message to young people on how they can contribute to create that enabling environment?
Well, I think, Kwame, I would say, as my sister Adija said, I mean, they really have to show up. That is really critical. They have to show up. Opportunities are so many, but they really have to show up and try something. You know, seek information and try to find relevant connections. I mean, we've got my organization, the organization that I'm managing, is one of those institutions that any young person who calls or visits the office, and he or she will always have something to pick that can really interest in doing something. So that is my message.
Well, I just cannot thank you all enough for those insights, and I wish this conversation can continue going on, but in the interest of time, we will have to end here. But I want to thank our panelists for the insights and the advice to young people. Stay curious and get your hands dirty. You don't make $1 million by just sitting. It only happens in the movie. And Hadija also said that we need to take advantage of all the incubators that are propping up around us. And then Daniel talked about we need to show up and try something. And then Franklin said that we need to be serious, serious by doing things and getting the attention of government. I believe that young people are not powerless. They can write, you can write editorials, you can call your representatives, and you can pressure government through your advocacy to make policies that are supportive of the kinds of entrepreneurial endeavor that you are striving to do. Thank you all very much for this insight. At this point, I would want to turn the microphone to my colleague, Professor Ntengwa Ndoye, who is a co-PI for the YIELD, to share some thoughts and to wrap up for us. Prof. Ntengwa. I think he's muted. President Ntengwa, can you hear me? Okay. Well, I think I'll go ahead and wrap up. It appears that he's having some difficulty joining us. But I would want to wrap up by, first of all, saying a very big thank you to you all for choosing to spend these 2 hours with us. It has certainly been very insightful, learning about the YIELD project, learning about all the things that the entrepreneurs have done. It's Prof here? Can you hear me now?
Hello, Kwame.
Yes, Prof. Tengwa, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I said good morning for those who are at the other side of the time zone, and good afternoon for those who are in the same time zone with me. I think we all agree that the event has been generally been successful. It was lively, interesting, and informative. And we agree that the YIELD journey has been an eye-opener. The journey has started, but we are not yet at the end. We've been successful. There has been some impact, as pointed out by Julius, and in terms of creating employment, in terms of developing new products, and in terms of reaching the community. And strengthening partnerships and establishing networks among the youth. But we need this to continue. That's why I'm saying the journey has started, but it has not ended. There are so many challenges which remain to be addressed. Access to finance, we need a flexible financing system, infrastructure problems, bureaucracy in the government, and others which needed to be addressed. And we talked about key elements for the conducive ecosystem, policy issues, infrastructure, financing, and technical skills. And I think we got a lot from the panelists and from the participants. And I think there's a lot, and I think you are going to have these points summarized. What I would like to say is that on behalf of the YIELD team, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for actively participating in this event. And special thanks go to AAP for supporting the YIELD journey, although it's not yet to the end, and we expect that we might get more support, not necessarily from AAP, but from other interested agencies. I would also like to thank the panelists and everybody who has participated, including our YIELD YIELD entrepreneurs who have been cooperating throughout all this journey. We hope that the networking among the entrepreneurs will be sustained and extended to other countries other than Ghana and Tanzania. And having said that, I think I wish you all the best. And I could say bye unless if Kwame has something to add.
Well, Ntengu, I think you said it all, Prof. I just want to also recognize that we were joined today by the professional fellows, which is one of the programs that AAP runs that is focused on young women that are also operating in the agricultural value chain. So we had a number of them join us, and we are exploring potential collaboration with that fellows program as well. So on this note, I just want to thank you all again. We really appreciate the time and the energy that you have put into this, and we look forward to our continued engagement. You will be hearing from us again. This session was recorded, and we will try and make it available to everyone who participated today. Thank you again, and you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.